Imagine pulling up to a breathtaking mansion in the heart of Surrey, its sprawling estate radiating pure luxury. The roar of a Lamborghini Murcielago's V12 engine fills the air as you step out, greeted by the sight of a grand entrance fit for royalty. Inside, the walls are adorned with priceless artwork, diamond-encrusted watches glisten under the lights, and every corner of this home whispers a story of success, power, and an untouchable legacy. This is the world of Prince Naseem Hamed, a boxing legend, a showman, and an icon whose journey from the tough streets of Sheffield to global superstardom is nothing short of extraordinary. But behind the fortune and the flash lies a tale of raw talent, relentless ambition, and a career that changed boxing forever. Before we dive into this incredible story, don't forget to smash that like button, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you never miss another deep dive into the lives of boxing's greatest champions. February 12, 1974. A future boxing legend was born in Sheffield, England. Naseem Hamed came from humble beginnings, the son of Yemeni immigrants who had moved to the UK in search of a better life. Growing up in a working-class household with 8 siblings, young Naseem was surrounded by a strong sense of family, culture, and discipline. Life in Sheffield wasn't glamorous, but it was here, in the heart of a tough, blue-collar city, that Hamed developed the hunger and determination that would later make him one of the most electrifying fighters in boxing history. From a young age, Naz had an unmistakable presence. He carried himself with an air of confidence. Some might even call it cockiness. But behind that attitude was an undeniable natural talent. His parents worked hard to provide for their large family, instilling in him the values of dedication and perseverance. But while many kids his age were dreaming about football or other sports, Naseem had one focus: boxing. And fate would introduce him to the man who would shape his career, Brendan Ingle. At just 7 years old, Hamed stepped into Ingle's Wincobank gym for the first time. It wasn't a fancy facility, but it was a breeding ground for champions. Brendan Ingle, a legendary boxing trainer, saw something special in the wiry, energetic boy with lightning-fast reflexes. Ingle wasn't just coaching a fighter, he was molding a future superstar. The Wincobank gym was known for its unique, unorthodox training methods, emphasizing movement, reflexes, and unpredictability. It was the perfect environment for someone like Hamed, who already had an uncanny ability to evade punches and throw devastating counters. Under Ingle's guidance, Hamed developed a southpaw style that was unlike anything boxing had ever seen. He moved like a dancer, hands down, constantly switching angles, throwing punches from impossible position, yet landing them with pinpoint accuracy and knockout power. But it wasn't just about technique. Ingle also nurtured the showman in him, encouraging his natural charisma. Hamed didn't just want to win, he wanted to put on a spectacle. And from an early age, it was clear that he was destined for something bigger than just local tournaments. As an amateur, Hamed quickly built a reputation for his devastating power and unmatched confidence. He won national titles with ease, often stopping opponents in the early rounds. His style was mesmerizing. Fans either loved him or hated him, but no one could ignore him. By the time he was 18, he had already outgrown the amateur circuit. The professional stage was calling, and Hamed was ready to answer. In 1992, Naseem Hamed turned pro, signing with Frank Warren, one of the biggest boxing promoters in Britain. It didn't take long for people to notice the young featherweight with an attitude bigger than his weight class. His debut fight was nothing short of a statement, an explosive second-round knockout that left everyone in awe. From that moment, it was clear this was no ordinary fighter. Hamed tore through his early opponents, knocking them out with ease. His blend of speed, power, and showmanship was unlike anything the featherweight division had ever seen. His hands were down by his waist, his movements unpredictable, and his power unquestionable. He was knocking out fighters with single punches, sometimes even while moving backward. His opponents couldn't figure him out, and the fans couldn't get enough. But what truly set Hamed apart was his confidence. He didn't just fight, he entertained. He talked trash, taunted opponents, and made bold predictions. And the crazy part, he backed it all up in the ring. His entrances became legendary, somersaulting over the ropes, dancing his way to the ring, and basking in the roar of the crowd. The young fighter wasn't just winning fights, he was putting on a show. By 1994, just 2 years into his professional career, he had already captured the European bantamweight title. But he wasn't stopping there. His knockout streak, his electrifying performances, and his growing fan base all pointed toward one thing: the world stage. It was only a matter of time before he would get his shot at a world championship. And when that moment came, Naseem Hamed would make sure no one ever forgot his name. By 1995, Naseem Hamed had already built a reputation as one of the most exciting prospects in boxing. boxing. His confidence was sky-high, his knockout power was undeniable, and his unique fighting style had made him a fan favorite. But now, it was time to prove he wasn't just a showman. He was a world-class fighter. The opportunity came on September 30th, 1995, when he stepped into the ring to face Steve Robinson for the WBO featherweight championship. Robinson was a seasoned champion, known for his durability and resilience. But that night in Cardiff, he was no match for the electrifying force of Prince Naseem. From the opening bell, Hamed dominated the fight, dazzling the crowd with his incredible reflexes and devastating counterpunches. Robinson tried to fight back, but by the 8th round, the challenger's power was too much to handle. A brutal left hook sent Robinson crashing to the canvas. And just like that, Naseem Hamed was a world champion. It was a statement victory, not just because he won, but because of how he did it. Hamed had arrived, and he was here to take over. With the WBO belt around his waist, Hamed went on a reign of destruction. Opponent after opponent fell to his unbelievable knockout power, and his dominance was impossible to ignore. He was like a magician in the ring, dancing, taunting, and throwing punches from wild angles, yet landing them with lethal accuracy. His unorthodox style frustrated his rivals, but there was nothing they could do about it. In 1997, Hamed proved he was more than just a one-belt champion when he faced IBF featherweight champion Tom Boom Boom Johnson. Johnson was an experienced fighter, having defended his title multiple times, but against Hamed, he looked completely outclassed. Nas toyed with him, showcasing his dazzling speed and footwork before unleashing a devastating combination that ended the fight in the 8th round. With that victory, he became a unified world champion. That same year, Hamed continued his reign by knocking out Juan Gerardo Cabrera and then defending his WBO title against Jose Badillo in his hometown of Sheffield. The British fans adored him, but now it was time to take his stardom to the biggest stage in the world, America. On December 19, 1997, Hamed made his U.S. debut at the legendary Madison Square Garden against former WBC featherweight champion Kevin Kelly. The fight was one of the most thrilling in boxing history. From the very first round, it was absolute chaos. Hamed was dropped in the first round, then came back to knock Kelly down in the second. Kelly returned the favor in the 4th round, and for a moment, it looked like Hamed might suffer his first defeat. But in true Prince Naseem fashion, he recovered, landed a monstrous left hand, and knocked Kelly out cold. That fight was an instant classic and cemented Hamed's status as a global superstar. American fans were now captivated by his flashy entrances, cocky interviews, and unbelievable power. HBO signed him to a multi-fight deal, and from then on, Hamed was a household name worldwide. But it wasn't just his fighting skills that made him a legend. It was the way he carried himself. Hamed didn't just walk to the ring, he made an entrance. Whether he was arriving on a flying carpet, reenacting Michael Jackson's Thriller dance, or backflipping over the ropes, he turned every fight into a spectacle. His showmanship was second to none, and love him or hate him, you couldn't take your eyes off him. As his career progressed, Hamed continued to dominate. He took on former world champion Wilfredo Vazquez and won by knockout. He fought Wayne McCullough, a relentless pressure fighter, and outboxed him over 12 rounds to retain his title. Then, in 1999, he added another belt to his collection, defeating Cesar Soto to capture the WBC featherweight title. However, Hamed later vacated the WBC belt to continue defending his WBO championship, which he had held longer than any other title. His greatness was officially recognized in 2019 when the Ring magazine retroactively awarded him their featherweight championship, making him the only fighter in history to receive this unique honor post-career. For nearly 6 years, Hamed ruled the featherweight division with an iron fist. He won 15 world title fights, knocked out nearly everyone who dared to step in the ring with him, and brought a level of excitement to boxing that hadn't been seen in decades. He wasn't just a fighter, he was an entertainer, a phenomenon, and a legend in the making. But as dominant as he was, every reign has its end, and for Prince Naseem Hamed, the toughest test of his career was just around the corner.
If you're enjoying this story, kindly do us a favor and subscribe to our channel. It is free and won't cost anything, but it means the world to us. We're just a small channel trying to grow. Thank you, and back to the video.
By 2001, Prince Naseem Hamed was on top of the boxing world. Undefeated, flamboyant, and feared, he had dominated the featherweight division for nearly 6 years. With an 84% knockout ratio and 15 world title defenses, his aura of invincibility seemed untouchable. But every great fighter eventually faces a moment of reckoning. And for Hamed, that moment came on April 7, 2001, against Marco Antonio Barrera. Barrera was a seasoned Mexican warrior, a technically brilliant boxer with a relentless fighting spirit. Many believed Hamed's power and unpredictable style would be too much for him, but Barrera came prepared. He had studied Hamed's weaknesses, and when the bell rang at the MGM Grand in Las Vegas, he executed his game plan to perfection. From the opening round, it was clear this was not the same dominant Prince Naseem fans were used to seeing. His signature swagger and supreme confidence were still there, but something was different. His footwork wasn't as sharp, his punches lacked their usual snap, and most importantly, his opponent wasn't intimidated. Barrera controlled the fight from start to finish. Instead of engaging in wild exchanges, he stayed disciplined, countering Hamed's lunging attacks with precise combinations. He exposed the flaws in Hamed's defensive style, landing clean shots whenever Nas dropped his hands. By the later rounds, frustration was evident in Hamed's face. His usual magic wasn't working, and Barrera wasn't backing down. In the 12th round, Barrera put an exclamation mark on his performance by trapping Hamed in a corner and slamming him into a turnbuckle, a symbolic moment that showed just how dominant he had been. When the final bell rang, there was no question who had won. The judges' unanimous decision went to Barrera, and just like that, Prince Naseem's undefeated streak was over. The loss was a crushing blow. For a fighter who built his career on showmanship and self-belief, the idea of being outclassed was almost unthinkable. Hamed didn't offer any excuses. He admitted that Barrera was the better man that night, but deep down, something changed. The fire that had once fueled his rise to superstardom seemed to fade. He took a year off from the sport before making a comeback in May 2002 against Manuel Calvo for the IBO featherweight title. Fans expected a redemption fight, a spectacular knockout to prove he was still the same electrifying force. But what they saw was a different Hamed. The fight against Calvo was uninspiring. Hamed won by unanimous decision, but gone was the dazzling movement, the lightning-fast counters, and the raw energy that made him a global superstar. He looked slower, less explosive, and, for the first time, ordinary. The once hyped Prince had become a shadow of his former self. Although he hinted at a quick return, it never happened. The truth was, years of training and fighting had taken a toll on his body. Chronic hand injuries, which had plagued him for much of his career, had worsened. Multiple fractures and surgeries had weakened his once dynamic punching power, and without that edge, Hamed knew he couldn't perform at the level he once did. At just 28 years old, Prince Naseem Hamed walked away from the sport for good. No official retirement announcement, no farewell fight. He simply disappeared from the boxing world. For a fighter who once lived in the spotlight, his exit was surprisingly quiet. Despite his sudden departure, his impact on boxing remained undeniable. He had changed the sport with his showmanship, his unique fighting style, and his fearless personality. Though his reign ended abruptly, his legacy as one of the most exciting fighters of all time was already cemented. Hamed's fall from dominance wasn't the result of a long decline. It was a single night that changed everything. And while he may not have ended his career on the terms he wanted, the legend of Prince Naseem Hamed will never be forgotten. Even after hanging up his gloves, Naseem Hamed's impact on boxing never faded. In 2015, he received one of the highest honors in the sport, an induction into the International Boxing Hall of Fame. This recognition cemented his place among the greatest fighters of all time, a testament to the mark he left on the featherweight division and beyond. Hamed wasn't just a champion, he was a revolution in the sport, a fighter whose style and personality redefined what it meant to be an entertainer in the ring. His influence stretched far beyond his own career. For many young British Asian fighters, Hamed was a trailblazer. He shattered barriers, proving that a kid from an immigrant background could rise to the top and dominate the sport. Fighters like Amir Khan have credited him as a major inspiration, and his flashy showboating style can still be seen in many boxers today. But Hamed wasn't just an inspiration for future champions. champions, he was a pop culture icon. In the 1990s, his name was as recognizable as any mainstream celebrity in Britain. His fights weren't just sporting events, they were blockbuster attractions. His confidence, charisma, and explosive performances made him a must-watch athlete, elevating boxing into the entertainment sphere. Even today, clips of his wild knockouts and theatrical ring entrances continue to circulate on social media, keeping his legend alive for new generations of fans. Outside the ring, Hamed lived as flamboyantly as he fought. His success brought him immense wealth, and he spent it in style. One of his most famous properties was a stunning 10-bedroom mansion in Yorkshire, which he later sold for £2.35 million. The estate was the epitome of luxury, featuring an oak-paneled reception hall, a state-of-the-art kitchen, and a fully equipped leisure complex with a swimming pool, jacuzzi, gym, and even a games room. Today, he resides in a lavish mansion in Surrey, continuing to enjoy the fruits of his labor in true Prince Naseem fashion. His love for luxury extended beyond real estate. His car collection was just as extravagant. He had a taste for high-performance supercars, with one of his most prized possessions being a Lamborghini Murcielago, a powerful machine that matched his bold personality. He also owned a Ferrari 360 Spider, a sleek and stylish masterpiece, and a Rolls-Royce Phantom, the ultimate symbol of success. But Hamed's garage wasn't limited to just exotic supercars. He also had a rare Subaru Impreza 22 BSTI, often called the Subaru from Hell, as well as a Mitsubishi Pajero Evolution, a rugged but elite SUV. Luxury didn't stop with cars and homes. Hamed was known for his collection of diamond-encrusted jewelry, from flashy rings to custom chains that reflected his larger-than-life persona. His watch collection was equally impressive, featuring high-end brands like Rolex, Patek Philippe, and Audemar's Piguet, each timepiece a statement of his success. Designer fashion was another passion, with Hamed regularly seen wearing the finest tailored suits and premium streetwear brands. His wealth accumulation was just as legendary as his career. By 1997, he was earning $14 million per year, making him one of the highest-paid athletes in the world. In 1999, his net worth had risen to £38 million, and by 2001, he had amassed a staggering $75.7 million. Over the course of his career, he earned over $48.5 million in fight purses alone, with his highly publicized bout against Marco Antonio Barrera, bringing in $8.5 million. At his peak, he was the second richest British boxer, trailing only heavyweight legend Lennox Lewis. Even in retirement, Hamed's fortune remained intact, and his luxurious lifestyle showed no signs of slowing down. He continued to enjoy his wealth, indulging in the very best life had to offer. While many fighters struggle financially after retiring, Hamed proved to be as strategic with his money as he was in the ring. Despite his flamboyant public image, Hamed has always been deeply rooted in family and faith. In 1998, he married Eleasha Elphinstone in his hometown of Sheffield. Eleasha, who converted to Islam, remained a strong and supportive presence throughout his career and beyond. She also built her own success as a businesswoman, running a thriving beauty salon. Their marriage has stood the test of time, a rarity in the world of celebrity athletes. Together, they raised two sons, Aadam and Sami, who have inherited their father's passion for boxing. Both boys train at the legendary Wincobank Gym, where Naseem himself once honed the skills that made him a world champion. Aadam, in particular, has shown great promise in the ring, and fans are eager to see if he will follow in his father's footsteps and carry on the Hamed legacy. Faith has always played a central role in Hamed's life. A devout Muslim, he was known for reciting the takbir, Allahu Akbar, before fights, a gesture that resonated deeply with many of his fans. He has remained committed to his religious beliefs, often speaking about the importance of faith, family, and discipline. Even in retirement, Hamed has continued to give back, supporting various charitable causes, particularly those focused on youth and sports development. His journey from the streets of Sheffield to global superstardom serves as a lasting inspiration, not just for boxers, but for anyone striving to achieve greatness. From the bright lights of Madison Square Garden to the luxury of his Surrey mansion, the story of Prince Naseem Hamed is one of ambition, success, and an unshakable belief in his own greatness. Whether you love him or hate him, one thing is undeniable: boxing has never seen another fighter quite like him.
If you're enjoying this story, kindly do us a favor and subscribe to our channel. It is free and won't cost anything, but it means the world to us. We're just a small channel trying to grow.